All right. Hey guys, can you hear me? I'm just going to give it a couple minutes here to see, or a couple seconds to see if it's starting. All right. Yeah. Looks like you're all here. Michael, Eastrup, Caleb, Thomas. Perfect. It hasn't started on my computer. I've got two computers here, so I'm watching everything. All right. So I'm finally back in Canada after I think 6 or 7 weeks of being gone. I've been living out of a small little suitcase, going all over the States. I was in New York, California, obviously Italy, France, London. It's just been all over the world, just absolute craziness. And this is the first time I've gotten proper sleep, new clothes from the few outfits that I had in my small bag, and just been able to sit down and actually get to work on some of the Patreon stuff that I promised you guys. So we've got the Facebook page up and running. We've got this live stream going, and I'm super excited because I have a big video for you guys coming out either tomorrow or the next day. That's going to be our Patreon goal reached video, and it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be wonderful, and the hedgehogs are going to be in it. Quick, safe flag. I know everyone gives me flack for that all over the States. I don't see the difference. I can't hear it. I'm saying it properly. What have you guys been up to? What was the punishment for machine gunning those poor refugees? Did they make you do rosaries? Yeah, I set that whole boat full of dying refugee children on fire. That was exactly what happened. So basically, when the Coast Guard took us aside, they took all of our ID, passports, everything, and then they told us, "Okay, we're going to escort you to this dock over here, and then once we've got you to the dock, you're going to get out of your boat, tie it there, and then we're going to have police officers waiting for you right like at the dock, kind of." So the Coast Guard took us to the dock, we tied up, we got out and like walked outside the dock area, and when we got there were no police officers, and we were like, okay. And then we waited there for like 15 minutes and no police officers showed up, so we were like, I guess we're good to go. So that was pretty cool. I think it's just like an Italian thing. They just don't care. Honestly, like Italians, love them to death. They have great music. Gabri Ponte, love it. But very, very lazy. If they don't have to work, they won't work. And the cops just didn't show up. So, you know? All right. Only one question. Everyone's just talking about the way I say flag. Well, thank you, Six Marbles. That's awesome. Glad you liked it. Hey there, Callum. How's it going? Yeah, so what's up next for me is, let's see, where am I going? I'm actually going to DC next in a few days for the Bilderberg conference. I know it's so conspiracy stuff, but it's fun to go there. I had a lot of fun last year at the one in Germany, so I wanted to see what was going down at this year's Bilderberg. Rover Time podcast. As a fan, I extend a friendly reminder to join the Beauty and the Beta podcast. Matt hates being pushy, so I help him out. Oh, yeah, you know what? I've been meaning to do that podcast for a while. I haven't gotten any messages from them on Twitter or email, though, so maybe they tried to send me something and I didn't see it. I've been getting a ton of emails and haven't been able to keep up with everything. So I will definitely go on their show because they're great. My dad actually watches Beauty and the Beta. How did you meet Brittany Pettibone? When did I meet her? I met her first at the Battle for Berkeley, actually. She was speaking there right after me, and then she came with us to Europe because we kind of travel in packs, a lot of people who do the traveling journalism, because it's just safer that way, especially in riot situations or like the no-go zone situation. It's safer to be with a few people who can either call or help out if something happens. So it's always nice when I get somewhere and like Tim or Brittany or Luke or someone is there and you can hang out with them and work with them. DC is really nice. I lived there for a few months. I'd love to live there for longer. It can be nice, but when you're in the political area, it just has this vibe about it where you've got so many just, how do I describe it? just like all of the people in DC kind of have this feeling about them where they just lost their souls. So that I do have some very good friends in DC, but the whole bureaucratic type of people that are in DC, ugh, I can't stand it. Who has been watching Porridge and Beans? Normally I have a hedgehog sitter for Porridge and Beans, but this time around my lovely mother was taking care of Porridge and Beans. She loves them and gives them cuddles and lots of mealworms, so she's been a wonderful, wonderful help. Now that Le Pen watched, can we admit that French people were always the least worthy of being saved anyways? Oh, it's a sad state of affairs, but you know, Canada voted Prime Minister Trudeau in. Around the world, this whole political class have been just selecting flamboyant kind of semi-metrosexual gay guys with nice hair to win elections. So France, Canada, they all messed it up. I don't want to say the French aren't worthy of being saved. They've contributed some amazing things to Europe and the world, but yeah, they really done goofed this one, didn't they? Hey, just joined. Have you had a chance to check out Sticks and Hammer? Actually, you know what? I keep seeing him on a bunch of different Reddit posts and things that I follow, and I did watch one of his videos, and yeah, he's interesting to watch, but I do need to watch more of his stuff before I give you a proper review of him. You have lots of fans here in DC. Any plans to come to the Freedom of Speech rally on June 25th? I haven't heard about the Freedom of Speech rally on June 25th. I am going to be in New York June 10th, probably, for the March Against Sharia that they're doing. It's so weird. Every single speaking opportunity I get is in California, like the most liberal place ever. They are all asking me to speak there all the time. I just got another request to speak at a university there. I want to diversify the places I visit so I can meet some of you guys, but the Californians are just big fans of having people protest at their universities, I guess. So you moved to the left coast. Toronto needs you. Yes, I did move to the left coast. I'll be back, though. I'm in New York all the time, which is right by Toronto. And I need to go see Faith Goldie. We're still besties, and I haven't seen her since Berkeley. So I'll be back in Toronto to help out and to visit Faith and everyone else there. I'm working with some friends of mine who review scholarly articles for citations, and I plan on centering my YouTube around reviewing sources for right and left-based articles. That's cool. That would be really interesting to see. You should definitely do that. There's certainly a lot of criticism of people's sources that needs to be done. If you want to see something infuriating, I posted in the super secret Patreon group on Facebook screen caps of people calling me out for being Islamophobic in an atheist page. It's fine to constantly bash Christianity, but being against Islam is haram. You know, that's so funny. I've been dealing with this for the last little bit as well. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you probably saw the bit of a spat I had with Preston, Tyler Preston. Yeah. He does YouTube videos, and we were friends and stuff when he did his whole anti-feminist videos and everything. And I don't mind if people disagree with me, obviously, but he's just been at my throat for the traditionalism stuff lately, and he tweeted out that there's no difference between me promoting traditionalism for women and between Islamic fundamentalists promoting their traditionalism for women. And even Blair White commented and was like, there's a bit of a difference when Islam is enforcing it with, you know, getting lashes or being stoned to death versus Christianity just kind of suggesting, or Reformed Christianity saying God says so, but, you know, ask for forgiveness. There's a bit of a difference, especially when I was defending it from a secular position, not a Christian position anyways. So I've been getting so many people all over Twitter saying, Lauren, you're basically Islam for saying women would be happier as mothers. I don't get it at all. It's crazy. And, you know, a lot of it is being promoted by the skeptic community and the atheist skeptic community, which I don't get at all. I love, there's a lot of people in that community that I love, but I've been seeing a lot of serious spurg outs from it lately when it comes to criticizing Islam and promoting traditionalism. Tyler Preston, yeah, that's the guy. The reason I think for the large demand in California is folks like to give you a voice to a large portion of the US who have to bite our tongue all day. Yeah, that's very true. They definitely need a little bit of diversity of opinion down there in California. Something along the lines of the new Real Peer Review, but in YouTube form, and for guys like Glenn Beck and Tariq Nasheed. Very cool. Check it out for sure. Arguing for traditionalism takes a lot of courage. Most people become nasty when you point out the negative impact of their decisions on their future. Yeah, you know what? The weird part is a lot of people react to me talking about this as if I'm trying to force it on them, or as if I'm suddenly going to be throwing people out of helicopters for not doing what I say, when that's all it is. It's just a suggestion. It's kind of like, I put it this way. I was like, I don't want most people doing heroin. I can tell someone, hey, doing heroin is probably a bad life decision and is probably going to result in bad things. Here's some statistics. And then everyone freaks out and they're like, no, it's not the same. But it is the same. If both lead to, maybe one is more bad for you than the other, but you're still just saying, here, I just want you to have a happier life, so here's some advice. And people have reacted to it as if I'm trying to enforce it, as if I'm trying to be a fascist government or a dictatorship or something. I don't understand. People really don't like suggestions anymore. They really don't like getting wisdom from other people. And like, I'm not saying that I'm necessarily like this wise this wise knower of all things, but I got a lot of this information from reading a book by, who's the guy who wrote The Bell Curve? I can't remember. Murray. Sorry, my memory is spaghettiing right now. It's a book called Coming Apart, and it's just all about different statistics on happiness in America and things like marriage, relationships, all of this. And it's a fascinating book. So I'm getting this knowledge from other people, and I'm just excited about it because I'm like, hey, you can have a much better life if you follow this. And people just don't want to hear it. They want to do their own thing. We're in a world that's post-tradition and post-getting wisdom from our elders, apparently. Are you looking forward to killing far-right white Nazi racists in Far Cry 5? I have never even played the first Far Cry games. I have no idea what Far Cry 5 is about. Has there been internet drama about that? I haven't been paying attention. Yes, Charles Murray. That's who I was looking for, Patrick. Yeah, the guy who got roughed up at Middlebury. The Twitter outrage regarding that heroin statement was beyond ridiculous. You know what? I don't understand. Yeah, people were trying to. I was just giving an example of how people were saying, "Oh, right, this is Lacey Green." She was saying, "It's amazing that you think you can judge people's lives better than they can themselves. That you can give people advice. Wouldn't an individual know the best thing for them?" But no, that's not the case. Sometimes people don't know the best things for them. Usually, not because they're stupid or trying to have a bad life, but simply because they haven't seen the statistics on it. If an 8-year-old never heard anything about different kind of drugs and they never knew it was bad for them, or if they never knew having unprotected sex was bad for them, then they would do that and think it was a good, great, wonderful thing, right? But no, we go ahead and we give people lessons, young people lessons on what is good and bad for them. So yes, there are times, that was the example I was trying to give with the heroin. Yes, sometimes you can predict what is going to be good or bad for someone's life better than they can. I don't get it. People just get super butthurt when they get any advice in the world. And I'm always open to new advice too. Sometimes I don't know what's best for me, and other people have better statistics and information than I do. Has she really gone red pill? That's the question, isn't it? I've spoken to her briefly over Twitter DM, and we've been planning on doing a video together, but she kind of went silent for a little bit. So we'll see if it actually happens. But yeah, it's hard to go and look at her old tweets, especially like right after the election when she tweeted about Donald Trump and was going crazy like, F you, America, you racist, evil bastards, elected a Nazi fascist, and then see her suddenly switch over to quote unquote red pill. Kind of feels like a bandwagon thing where it's like, oh, YouTube has all kind of gone anti-feminist. Better switch now, right? Because it's really hard, especially when, I don't know, how old is Lacey? Probably mid-20s. I don't know if it's genuine or not. Maybe I'll talk to her when I go and visit her in LA if she ever replies to me, and find out for myself, I guess. I saw a video of hers posted recently and didn't feel like making the effort to watch. I'm going to keep up with it because I'm interested to see how this kind of switch on YouTube goes, and to see more and more. Even Milo Stewart apparently came out and was talking about becoming more open to different ideas. So I'm interested to see how this shift goes. So I'm going to be keeping up with it. Did you change your gender back to female, or are you keeping it male to mess with SJW heads? Honestly, I've just been too lazy to go switch it back. I'm not gonna bother. It's well, I will if I get married, but when? Hopefully that's a when. Hopefully I don't end up a cat lady. That would be a very sad situation, or hedgehog lady, knowing all of this information myself and then going and becoming a hedgehog lady. Oh boy. But yes, I will switch it back at some point. I've just been too lazy about it lately. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. She's the kind of person whose opinions change just as the wind blows, lack of principle, whatever is trendy. And yeah, that's the thing to be careful about, because a lot of this feminist stuff was super trendy. It's not like Anita Sarkeesian or Lacey Green were some trailblazers of a new crazy idea. No, that was popular culture. She was on MTV, right? So yeah, got to be careful to see if it's just switching for the trends. I usually tend to follow the people who are at the forefront of pushing ideas than the people who are 10 steps behind, because it's not that interesting following people who are just touting the same line that is safe to tout. 2 red pill videos. Trust me, she's on the level. Not born again conservative, just very on board with the concept that her side is a bunch of bullies. That is what. Yeah, I hope so. I sure hope so. Maybe I'm just being a little. I'm being a little skeptical um, just because of how extreme she was in the past. But I sure hope she is changing and has become aware. I mean, you'd think it wouldn't be hard to become aware of how big bullies the left have become when they're hitting people in the head with bike locks and throwing bricks at them and shutting down speech all across the country. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but apparently it took a little bit for some people. Lacey is questioning some of her beliefs. I give her some credit. It's hard to do in an era of social media to change your identity. Yeah, and I definitely give her credit too. I commented on her video, tweeted out to her congratulations on, yeah, exactly, changing your beliefs essentially. Because as much as it may be following something that is now more popular, it is difficult to admit you were wrong. So yeah, definitely credit on that end. Eric Clanton, bike lock attacker, is now in prison. It's such a beautiful thing to watch. I thank you so much to just the internet in general for finding him. It's amazing that they do a better job than the police. It's just shocking. But yeah, it's very cool that he's actually going to jail for that, because he could have killed that dude. I was actually right beside that guy when it happened, the bike lock attack. I was filming something else. But I turn around and I just see him standing there with the blood coming out of his head and it's going all over the ground. And I'm like, holy crap, holy crap, holy crap, what happened? And it would have been on my live stream if you were watching my Periscope live stream, and I walk over there and I wasn't sure about filming, so I didn't get the best footage because like this guy was bleeding all over his head and I didn't want to crowd the place because there were a bunch of medics that had come over to help him. But that was a crazy thing to watch in real life. There was blood all over the pavement after that. It was scary situation. And he was so positive too. It was amazing. He had a smile on his face. He's like, hey, I'm A-okay, no problem. I don't need to go to the hospital. Like, such a top lad. Sean is a really sweet guy who teaches Sunday school, so it's definitely not as though they were some sort of monsters. Oh, Sean, you knew the guy who got hit with the bike lock? Yeah, no, I've never seen someone so positive while they were bleeding out of the back of their head. Like, what a guy, what a guy. Did you hear anything about the student protest at Evergreen University regarding the race segregation? I was just watching that video on my way back from Los Angeles, the Tucker Carlson interview. Oh, that was Jordan Peterson 2.0 is what they're calling him now. For those of you who don't know what happened, essentially this university would have a day every year where they would ask all of the minority students, well, no, they wouldn't ask them, they'd just give an opportunity for all of the minority students to go off campus and join anti-racism protests and do activities and everything. It was a voluntary thing. They were just like, you won't get grades deducted. You're completely allowed to go out and protest for your rights and social justice and everything. And that was just an annual thing they did every year. And this year they decided, no, instead of voluntarily having minority students leave campus to go protest for social justice, we're going to force all of the white people to get off campus. And this one professor who is super left wing was like, no, no, you can't force me to leave the campus because of my skin color. You guys have gone way too far. And there's videos of basically the same situation with Jordan Peterson, with students shrieking at him, like, you're an effing Nazi, racist, get off this campus, like shrieking at him to quit his job. And he's like, no, I'm not going to quit my job. You guys are a bunch of racists. And now he's gone pretty red pill. He did Tucker, and now they're super mad at him for going on Tucker Carlson. And it's just a fascinating situation to watch, especially these professors who have been pushing this left-wing ideology, kind of see the monster they've created and the logical conclusion of all their progressive ideology. It came to bite them in the butt. Jordan Peterson 2.0 seems like he's hitting some low-hanging fruit, whereas Prof. Peterson is wading into the trenches. He's definitely not Jordan Peterson, but that's what they're calling him in YouTube videos and such. Basically, a professor who's had enough, kind of the same situation in that sense. But Jordan is on a whole different level when it comes to the stuff he's accomplished, for sure. Did you see him on Crowder? Oh, Prof. Peterson? No, I didn't watch his Crowder stuff. I'd have to go check it out. I spent a lot of time talking to Peterson. He's a really nice guy in person. His family, actually, before he kind of got big, and I had just done a few videos on him for Rebel, the first two I did when I went to the protests against him, I went out for dinner with his family. They made an amazing meal, just the nicest family ever. Super, super smart guy. He has some crazy artwork in his house. He has a ton of old Soviet Union and war artwork that's like originals that have been shipped in from all over the world. Just, the dude has the most fascinating house ever. I hope this becomes a trend among professors, getting fed up and pushing back against progressivism. We need more intellectual diversity on campus. Yeah, I mean, you'd think after being asked to leave the campus because of your skin color, and after all of the different protests happening on campuses, it's hard to not think professors are slowly losing it. It would be impossible not to, I think. Sorry, I was thinking of something that I was going to say after that, and I completely lost it. Speaking of Peterson and your filming with Rebel, any updates with the court case for Smugly Puff? Yes, so basically what happened was they called me and they were like, okay, pretty much we have all of the evidence we need. This person can get charged and they can have permanent charges on their record, Lauren. Like, there's no real case here. You've got video of the assault. And so they called me and they were like, okay, so either we can put permanent charges on this person's record and continue this case and really, really punish them. Basically, you can potentially even get like big fines and like prevent them from getting jobs in the future because of their criminal record. Or you can just get a court order so that they won't have weapons, they can't come near you, they can't go to protests. And if they commit any other crimes in the next 2-3 years, they'll get serious charges. And I'm not a vitriolic person. I'm not the kind of person that is like, I'm going to ruin your life for the rest of your life because you messed up this one thing. And that's just not my personality. So I picked the court order because this is obviously, Mira, is that their name? Mira Ulysses or something? They're obviously a confused person. They're obviously a little mentally ill, even if the court doesn't think so, because this is the thing. I told them, I was like, I told them I didn't want to pursue any sort of charges if this individual was mentally ill. And they were like, nope, they're not mentally ill, because I don't think they can say they're mentally ill without getting in trouble. But I think this person clearly has some issues, and they're young as well, like in their early 20s at university. So I want to give them a chance to maybe get over this crazy SJW phase they have and not prevent them from getting a job in the future, not prevent them from having a life. I honestly hope for the best for this person, as much as it was awful what they did to me and awful what they were doing to Dr. Peterson. But a court order should be enough. They can't go to protests. They can't do this kind of stuff. And you know what? It's funny. Yeah, Mira posted something on Facebook, made a giant post about me after the case and was like, Lauren Southern is evil, anti-trans. Basically, I'm not allowed to go to protests anymore. I'm not allowed to be in my safe space and stuff because of Lauren and this vitriolic, horrible thing she did to me. And I don't think Mira knows that I chose the lesser punishment for them. I don't think they know that I went out of my way to make sure they would be able to get a job in the future, and went out of my way to make sure they would like be okay, and still made this giant post about how evil and transphobic I am and how I'm preventing them from being involved in politics. So it's a little crazy and upsetting, to say the least, but I hope they get over this. And yeah, I know you guys are saying here actions should have consequences. Maybe I'm too nice, but I'm not that vitriolic. I'm not that vitriolic. They just like grabbed me and tried to hit me, and it's not. I know. Maybe I'm too nice. I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you call yourself an identitarian now? I agree with a lot of the things that the identitarians are fighting for, because I mean they're fighting to stop mass immigration and they're fighting for their future, and a lot of that is based around the idea that our lifestyle and our nations have become so generous with strangers that they're now unsustainable for ourselves. So all of their money that's supposed to be for their families, their children, is being taxed the hell out of them by the European Union and their European governments and being given to foreigners, and they can't live that way. Foreigners that are changing their culture and killing them in some cases, attacking them and making their streets unlivable. So whether or not I agree with their concept of identity politics and like caring about their culture and being German, being Italian, all these things, I think is irrelevant, because what they're fighting for is something that is, I think, one of the most important battles of our age right now. I mean, we're going to look back at the stuff that Generation Identity is going to be doing, which amazing job, guys, for everyone who's sharing the video I did with them and everything. They've raised like almost 50,000 euros for boats and more missions. But we're going to look back at that and be like, wow, this was the resistance against the downfall of European culture and Western culture, and the resistance against Islamic invasion. And that's what's the most important to me. I think getting into the nitty gritty about, oh, it's identity politics from the right is just like, it's a fair conversation, but it's just such a small picture compared to they're fighting against people being blown up at Ariana Grande concerts. They're fighting against all of their tax dollars being taken away from them. There's a bigger picture here that I support when it comes to the identitarian movement. Forget that nonsense about being nice. Don't ever grant unearned politeness or smile to people who are tyrannical. I do agree with that on one hand, but this is the issue. I've been around people in this business that are vitriolic, and I've been around people in this business that are like very, very hateful, and whenever someone crosses their path or something, their main goal is to destroy them. And I don't want to become like that. I don't want to lose my soul. A lot of people think I'm this mean, horrible person that sets refugee children on fire. I don't want to ever actually be that person. I want them to be confused and stupid and fake news every single time. Yeah, I want to stop the invasion. Yeah, I want to stop the SJWs, but I'm not going to lose my soul or my heart because of it. And maybe it's because I'm a woman and I just, I have more emotion and heart, not heart, but what's the word? But yeah, maybe I'm a little more emotional and warm and compassionate than guys would be. And a lot of people would critique me as that's why I shouldn't necessarily be in the political realm. But yeah, that's just who I am. And I don't want to lose who I am, even if I am too nice. Sorry. Don't return evil for evil, but still advocate for justice. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. But if someone were in my position and did go all the way, did go all the way in sentencing Mira and everything, I wouldn't attack them or anything. I'd still understand. If you lived in England, who would you want to win the election between the Tories and Labour? We are effed. I'd pick Tories, I guess. I don't know. You guys, honestly, I have to keep up a little more with that election going on. Just the Tories are more likely to actually follow through with leaving the EU, right? The important thing is to stay on message. I remember a news interview where some clown kept talking about your YouTube exuberance and dissing you on age. Oh, I remember that youth. Yeah. That was on Sky News. It was the gun control interview with that professor, and he kept calling me Miss Southern. That was the weirdest interview ever. He kept saying Miss as if it was like some super offensive thing, Miss Southern, and he didn't even lose the debate because of the arguments presented. He lost it because he just acted like a total asshat. He was just, it was ad hominem attacks the entire time. I was astonished. I'm like, you're a professor? Because I remember I was with a friend that morning and I was reading his Wikipedia page and I was like, oh gee, like I know I'm right on this topic and I have the arguments to back me up when it came to the gun control sit-in, because that made no sense when it came to the terrorist attack that happened. But I was like, this guy has like 20 books and he teaches a bunch of classes at these prestigious universities. I'm screwed just because he's going to be able to maneuver really well in arguments. And then I get there and he just doesn't present a single one. That was a fascinating experience for me and really helped my confidence when it came to just doing political commentary in general, because I was a little worried. I'm like, oh, you're quite young, Lauren. You haven't written 30 books like all these other people, and I had kind of insecurities about that. But then I realized there's so many people in the political and commentary sphere that even with all of the books and the experience behind them, they still just present bad arguments, and it always comes down to that: who's presenting the more reasonable, logical argument. And it doesn't matter your age. If you can present a reasonable, logical argument and someone with all the degrees in the world can't, then you still win, and you can still do well in political commentary, which is very, very cool. The great equalizer is the mind. I noticed a lot of stupid leftist progressive responses on your Twitter feed concerning your speech. Facts and logic and reality isn't well received by these types. The problem is they take it personally. And I was having a conversation with Fan Molyneux about this, actually. And the big thing is a lot of them would run around and be like, but the exception, Lauren, but the exception to the rule. How dare you not mention the exception in everything you're talking about? You're a bigot. You hate women because you aren't talking about the exception. What about the exception? And the thing is, when people argue on the exception, it becomes a very personal thing, because they would rather, they don't really want to accept reality. It's an easy scapegoat for them to say, I'm not going to do all these responsible things, like work hard, get a job, not do drugs, not sleep around, all these things, because I could be the exception. It's a really easy way for them to escape these big facts of reality. It's kind of like, you can use it for any argument. Radical Islam, they'll be like, but the peaceful Muslims, no, that still doesn't get rid of this problem. That still doesn't get rid of this reality or these facts. It's an easy way for people not to address reality. And when people are making bad decisions, they always like to talk about the exceptions. They don't have to take responsibility. And that's why it's so scary for them, because this is a very personal thing. It's their future, it's their life. And yeah, people don't like taking advice from others nowadays. When I think advice from others is the best thing possible. I love it when people come up to me and they're like, hey, Lauren, you're doing this wrong. Hey, Lauren, here's some stats that will help you live a better life. I'm like, cool, let me have that, because I want to live a better life. I want to have a better existence. I only have so long on this planet, right? But it doesn't seem to be the general attitude right now. I always hear my Muslim friend is nice. Yeah, like that, exactly. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if your Muslim friend is nice. Let's look at the Pew Research on how many people want to enact Sharia in these countries, right? That's what matters. It's the majority. I guess it proves you don't have to be smart to be a professor. They gained that title by regurgitating other smart people's works, and not many learn to think for themselves. That is the biggest problem with education right now, is it's literally just, oh, here's my textbook. It says the wage gap is real. There we go. Wage gap is real. I'm not going to look at the statistics myself. I'm not going to find that out on my own. I'm not going to have arguments. I hate it. I wish we kind of had the old kind of Greek way of sitting for an entire day and arguing on one word, one topic, and you could write an entire book on just Socrates arguing with the people. That would be a fascinating education system to have today. But no, people don't like arguments. Everything is settled science. Everything is settled fact. And like settled silence is one of the silliest things ever, because you should always be trying to critique it, always trying to improve. Looking away has really been the backbone of this problem, yet it persists because they indeed take it personally. Yeah, it was really sad. I was sitting at a hostel. I was staying at a hostel in Paris, and two of the people that were staying in my room, one was a really liberal guy from London who was working in green energy or something, and quit his job to travel the world. The other was a nurse from Seattle, and she was also extremely liberal, huge Bernie supporter, all of this stuff. And we went out for drinks that night. We're just talking, hanging out. I was getting to know their life, and we start talking about politics, obviously. And by the end of the night, it was like 2 a.m. and they were talking, and they were like, I'm really afraid of Islam, Lauren. I'm really afraid of mass immigration and these things. And I was like, what? Then why don't you say this out loud? Why don't you talk about this? Why do you just repeat things like diversity is our strength? And they're just sitting there shaking their heads. And they're like, I just have to believe that multiculturalism and Western culture will prevail and succeed. And I just have to believe that diversity will work. And I'm like, well, I mean, you can sit there and say, I want to believe that I'll get a job, but if you don't go and put out the resumes, if you don't go and try to do things to fix the situation, nothing's going to happen. So you can sit there and say, I just hope multiculturalism and diversity are strength, but it's not working and you're not doing anything to fix it, like slowing down immigration so assimilation can happen, then you're going to be screwed. And that was a really interesting conversation for me, because it's like, I think deep down, a lot of people know what's going on, and maybe with their families or the really close friends, they'll talk about it, but they're just way too afraid to say it out loud, or way too brainwashed to the point where they can logically come to the proper conclusions, but that emotional brainwashed side comes out and they just say, no, screw all those facts, and I just acknowledged diversity as our strength, right? The brainwash just takes over. 6 marbles. Oh, congrats on the 4 grand, by the way. Thank you. I can't thank you guys enough. You guys are amazing. And I have a video coming up for you. It's probably going to be out tomorrow. Just a kind of Patreon, we reached the goal video, and the hedgehogs will be in it, as I mentioned earlier. Big things. I've gotten a lot of really great video stuff. As you can see, even the live stream has improved. The video quality is going to go up. I just got this guy. So this is like a nice, much nicer camera than just filming on my phone. So quality is going to be going up. It's really exciting. Air and rainwater. Yeah, I know a lot of people who are red-pilled on multiculturalism, but don't say anything publicly because they are scared of the social consequences. Yeah, I guess as mad as I can get about them not saying this publicly, I still have to realize people have jobs, and people can get fired from those jobs. People can get kicked out of their universities and have their futures destroyed. As much as we've made so much progress in widening the conversation in popular belief, we're still living in that SJW reality where you can be fired and just have your social life destroyed through having certain political beliefs. So I always have to be aware of that. I think it's fine for Canada to be multicultural, multi-ethnic, but Europe is the homeland for many different cultures and ethnicities, as is Asia and Africa. They should not be multicultural. Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, you look at America, and America was based on a political idea. It was based on, not on a certain ethnic group. It was based on the ideas of liberty, all the Constitution, all these different things. So as much as I will listen and hear out the ideas of people like the Identity Europa group who, and like I'll listen to what Richard Spencer has to say, I just don't see that as something that would ever happen, or something that is viable in America or Canada, because that's something that's based off ideas, not racial groups. And I do think of course, you still need massive assimilation from people. And when you have that, it's a really cool country to live in. When it comes to Europe and stuff, though, yeah, I find it a far more compelling argument to say if Germany is to remain Germany and a German culture, you need to have a majority Germans. That doesn't mean no immigration. That just means don't replace all the German people with all Asian people, and you'll still have Germany. Like, I think that's a fair compromise. I think people would get pretty upset if Japan was replaced with all Swedish people. I'd be upset. I'd be like, well, hell, I really liked Japanese culture, and a lot of that culture came from the Japanese people and their ancestors passing that on. It has nothing to do with racism and nothing to do with hating any specific race. It's genuine love of diversity and love of different cultures and love of having different unique societies exist. Like I said, it doesn't mean no immigration. It just means I think it's cool if homelands stay primarily that group of people. I don't know. Let me know if I'm wrong. I think that's why the alt-right is important. We need to make it socially acceptable to have a wider range of views. Yeah, I totally agree. I think even like communists, damn commies, I think they should still be allowed to show up and give their arguments and everything. It's all about free speech. I'm all, for all of it, all of the free speech on the far left and the far right. Lefties on immigration by saying, if I lived in China, I'd be pro immigrant, but in the UK, we really can't sustain these levels. Yeah, you look at China, their culture isn't changing anytime soon. It's lots and lots of Chinese there. And oh, you look at London. London is insane. They can't sustain it. Their whole culture is changing. The most popular name in London for young boys is Mohammed right now. That should be enough to say, in 100 years, what is UK culture going to be like? What's it going to be like living in London? Are you going to be able will I be able to walk around with my hair down like this, or will it be like the cultural enclave in Paris that I went to? It's as much as people get offended by it and upset because they think you're being racist, xenophobic, whatever. It's an important conversation you need to have, and a lot of the conversations that people get offended by are super important conversations to have. Like a couple of years ago, where you'd talk about feminism being bad for women, people would get triggered by that, but it's been one of the most important conversations of our ages, not telling young girls, hey, sleep around with the entire football team and everyone you want and become a cat lady when you grow up. Challenging that narrative has made for a lot of happier women and a lot of happier gender relations in general. Having the conversation that, hey, maybe men aren't treated fairly in a lot of legal aspects. Maybe we shouldn't be sending guys to jail for just being accused of rape and not actually being having any proof behind it. That was an important conversation we had as well, because it's like, that's someone's life, innocent people being sent to jail and having their lives ruined. So people can get offended by these conversations, but usually that means it's an important one to have. Is that Stalin behind you? That is a picture of Stalin doing a funny face. I had photos all over this wall, and they're all over there right now in the corner. I left for a month, and all of them fell down. I need to get better tape. Let's see what else. Got the map of hell, some church drawings. All of the posters are over there. I'll put them up again. Chris, I love anime. I don't know if anyone saw, but the Conservative Party here in Canada just had their convention and elected a new leader, and they had to share a building with an anime convention. So it was the funniest thing ever. You had all these conservatives all buttoned up and all these people in like furry suits and anime costumes running around, and the media didn't know what to do with themselves. It was the funniest thing ever. What was it? Rick Wilson was the one who said the alt-right or right-wingers are all anime watching losers living in their mother's basement. It was just so perfect thinking of that Rick Wilson quote and then seeing the conservative convention with all of the furries everywhere. It's too good. Anime right. The anime comment was in regard to your love of Japanese culture. Yeah, they've come up with some interesting stuff for sure. I gotta say, I'm more impressed with like the onsen stuff. I love that, like all of the architecture they have and like the beautiful bathhouses and everything. It's gorgeous, and their food, of course. So, do you consider yourself Christian, like the same way Dr. Peterson considers himself Christian? Honestly, I every time people ask me this, because I get asked a lot about religion, and it's hard for me because I'm still searching. I'm still I do think religion is important. I do think it's something that obviously has had a lot of impact on history. It's people have fought over religion for ages. Religion has inspired some of the greatest thinkers historically. It's been something extremely significant to the world, and I want to find I want to find that significance in my life. I do attend church. I've attended lots of different Catholic, Protestant churches and everything. But yeah, it's something I'm still searching. I was like edgy atheist for a little bit, but I don't know. That wasn't for me. Embrace your Danish roots, Viking paganism. Too funny. I did look into that as well. I have like the little Thor necklace and everything, and I looked into. I read the whole. What's it called? There's a word for it. The all of the old Danish books about. I'm gonna look it up. Just give me 1 minute. The Norse Edda, yes, the prose Edda. Yeah, I read all those. The really fun stories. So, it was good because you learn a lot of history even just looking into different religions, and it's interesting seeing the connections between a lot of them. The more I research it, like most of the world religions, they had like the great flood that happened. They had the man die and rise after 3 days, and the apple is something that has always been significant. You had the goddess sister named Iduna that had the apples that kept all of the Norse gods alive and would help them live forever. Obviously, the apple was on the tree of uh, wisdom and evil in the Bible, and it's interesting seeing the crossover in all these religions, and it's hard to think that it's just a coincidence. Aaron, you're actually pagan? Okay. And Chris, you're agnostic. Atheists are too militant and non-representative for any self-respecting conservative. That's the thing I don't understand. Like, I don't understand. I'm sure I've got atheists that are in the chat, and if you guys could explain it to me, I mean, isn't it easier to just say I don't know than to say I know everything in the universe and God definitely doesn't exist? I feel like that really confuses me with the atheists thing. Agnostics are far more reasonable, in my opinion. It's funny to think how much of the alt-right was catalyzed by Gamergate. Play any games lately? Oh man, yeah, massive throwback to Gamergate, eh? It was good times. Everyone was a lot more friendly then, and now you've kind of got this huge clash of everything. Thunderfoot versus Sargon. All of these people, the alt-right rejecting the alt-right. Everything is split up since Gamergate. It's been a hell of a time to watch, but interesting nonetheless. And as for games I've been playing lately, I've had no time at all to play games with traveling. I wish, because I quite liked gaming. Gaming was something I enjoyed to do. Certainly when I was in university, I played a lot of League of Legends and a lot of different online games. I want to get back into it, and I want to do gaming with some of you guys at some point, because I do have a little bit of time for before Bilderberg, so maybe I'll set something up. I haven't gamed in a long time, but it is something I enjoy to do. Okay, here we go. I'm an atheist, but of course I don't actually know. I hate that there are so many atheists that are regressive left and don't dare touch Islam. I'm curious though. Why don't you just call yourself an agnostic if you aren't sure? Just let me know in your next comment. There's a LOL tournament in Toronto, I think. I don't think I'm good enough to be in a tournament, but I've been playing since closed beta, so I have like the King Rammus skin and everything. I even have Earth Warwick. Been playing for a long time. I guess atheists are still waiting for the evidence that God exists, although there never will be. So reasons for them to be militant. I would love to play video games with you. I'm going to figure that out at some point, because like I said, I really want to do that. It's been too long. Because as an atheist, I'm stating I don't believe theists. Agnostics don't do that. Okay. Okay. I'd have to go back. You know who's really fun to listen to that on? It's been a long time since I really listened to the atheist versus theist arguments on YouTube, because obviously I kind of got into the feminist arguments on YouTube after that, and now I've been getting into the immigration stuff more, but I need to go back and listen to more of the atheist versus theist arguments on YouTube. I always liked listening to Bill Buckley on that kind of stuff, and Gore Vidal. They were fun to listen to debate. Oh boy, this is the scary part. We've gotten into religion, and now the comment section is just going to go mad. I'm always afraid making religious posts, because there's nothing like religion that will create for heated arguments in comment sections. I mean, they say the 3 top things to never talk about when you go to a dinner table is religion, sex, and politics. But sex and politics, I'm not even afraid of touching that. But if I make a religious post, people go nuts. Maybe we should team up and pay Sargon a visit on his Ark server. I've never played Sargon's game, but yes, that would be fun. I would have to learn to play LOL in order to play with you, but I suppose that's possible. It's not that hard. We could create like a closed game with just Patreon people and all play and be pretty fair. That would be a lot of fun to do. Also, free advertising for Ruben Report. His shirts are very comfy. How religious is your family, and what are your takes on the Crusades? My family is pretty religious. My immediate family, anyways. My sister, not so much, but yeah, my parents attend church, but they're more. What kind of church do they attend? I'm trying to think. Oh, they're always switching. I think they might attend a Calvinist church, but they're not actually Calvinists. They're more they're just Protestant in general. They'll go to the nearest church by them, but I tend to be more intrigued by Catholicism myself. We should talk about something less controversial. What do you think of veganism? They're just Protestant in general. Like they don't really adhere to any specific. They just don't go to Catholic church. They'll go to Calvinist. They'll go to Baptist. Um, they just attend church in general. They just believe in God. Sorry, I'm trying to find the comment I was talking about. Right, what do I think of veganism? It's not something I care about so much. I used to be the kind of person that was like, haha, look at this meat I'm eating, like, screw you vegans, because it was just funny to see them get pissed off. But now I'm more so like, if it makes you feel better, do it. Change your eating habits if that's what makes you feel good. I think eating has a lot of impacts on people's happiness and health and all these things. And for vegans, no hate against them. They can do their own thing as long as they're not screaming in my face at a burrito shop, which happened to me one night in Toronto. A guy came in, it was like 2 a.m. and I think I had just gone out. I was just out with Gavin that night and a few of the Proud Boys, and I went to go get a burrito afterwards across from my place. I walk into the burrito store and everyone's just waiting there. There's like a ton of people that are just like drunk after partying. And this guy walks in and he starts screaming at a girl sitting eating her burrito. Oh, it's because she was wearing a fur hat and eating a meat burrito. And he's like, "Hey, did you know that animal on your head was screaming in pain when it died, and that beef you're eating was screaming in pain when it died?" And just like was going off on this chick, and I was sitting there like, what? Like, what are you doing? It's 2 a.m. Everyone's drunk here after partying, and you're screaming at a girl for her hat and the burrito she's eating. So I kind of spoke up and I was like, dude, just calm down. Just calm down. Like, she's just trying. People are just trying to eat their burritos. Like, if you want to have a political debate, like, do it on Facebook. Just let everyone finish their burritos right now. And I think that's the first time I have ever been cheered for in a public place. But everyone was just like started slow clapping and clapping for me, and I was like, this is a weird feeling. I'm used to people chanting, "Get out," and bringing poop emoji signs and protesting me. But yeah, that was a weird experience. How different alike are you and your sister? My sister and I are very different. Love her to death, but she is, I was just out doing a speech at University of uh, uh, Cal Polytechnic about traditionalism, and she was just doing a DJ set at a club somewhere. So we're very, very different, but she's a nice person. Veganism is when a virtue signaler stops signaling and actually puts their money where their mouth is, unless their meat's made of meat. You know, yeah, I appreciate that too. At least they actually quite literally put their money where their mouth is. Yeah, as long as they're not forcing it in people's faces, I'm fine with it. It's not that big of an issue for me. Weren't the protesters at Cal Poly lovely? That was a weird experience for me. I'm not used to, I mean, like, the police forced me to go into the back entrance of the university and sneak in and everything, and I hate that. I like being among the protesters. I like talking to them and debating them and everything, and I wasn't allowed to that time because they're like, these protesters have shown up specifically for you, and the cops just wouldn't allow me to go near them. So it was really upsetting. I got to see the videos after, but it was weird having to be snuck into a back entrance of a university by cops. Yeah, they were just a bunch of skinny, weird SJWs that thought making an emoji of my face on poop was an argument. You know, they brought together the brightest minds of California Polytechnic, and that's what they came up with, putting my face on a poop emoji. It's a sad state of affairs on campus there. It's not poop, it's chocolate ice cream. You know, maybe they were doing chocolate ice cream. Could be. Didn't Gavin McInnes recently become Catholic? Are we retaking the church? Gavin McInnes, I think, has been Catholic for a while, but it's kind of like, I feel like he's in a similar situation as me, where he's kind of searching as well, but he's just like, oh, I'm Catholic because I like it the best. I don't know, but he's from like a year ago, I was talking to him and his brother, and he was saying he was Catholic then. So I don't know if it's recent. Maybe it's publicly a thing recently, but it's certainly interesting to see a Catholic having Mercedes Carrera on his show with her boobs out and dressing up as a woman all the time. He's a crazy guy. Love him to death, but a little inconsistent there. Like Jordan Peterson said, make your speeches at 7 a.m. and nobody will show up to protest. That's so true. And anytime there's a tiny bit of rain, they just won't show up. They'll just leave if it's raining. It's yeah, actually, that's a really funny thing. During the French election, a lot of people thought Macron was going to do much worse because there was prospect that it was going to be raining that day, and it's so crazy to think that rain can impact the political election in a country. It's like how insincere are your political views that you won't show up to the polls because of a little bit of rain in the sky? I think it should have to rain every election. I think they should have election day when it is pouring and there is thunder outside and a hurricane, so that the only people who show up to the polls are actually the sincere people who care about what they're voting for and care about the politics and aren't just doing it to be trendy. That would be a good idea. I didn't think about that before. Only do elections when it's raining. I tried to be vegan, lasted 4 weeks, figured if I was meant to be vegan, animals wouldn't be made of food. Fair enough. Would you ever consider being a mainstream journalist if the offer was right? I get asked this all the time, and I've been given offers by more mainstream publications before, and I know the info babes at Fox News make like close to $1 million, which is crazy, but it's like, I can't imagine being censored. It's never really been about the money for me. If it was about the money, if it was about the money, I wouldn't be traveling so much. I'd be sitting my butt on this comfy chair all day just doing videos in here, because that would be easy, and then I could instead of spending my money on flights to these locations to see what's going on the ground, I could spend it on hair and handbags and just do cheap videos. But it's not about the money for me. It's about seeing what's going on the ground. It's about discovering the truth. So I don't care. You could offer me $1 million and I wouldn't take it if I didn't have my freedom to say what I wanted to say. Let's see. What video games are you wanting to play online? Sorry, I need to scroll up. Is it a conservative thing? I get up at 6 a.m. every day and I love rain. Yeah, you're just evil. You're just an evil conservative. He's up too. What video games are you wanting to play online, or even single play that you are interested in? Have you played Bloodborne? I haven't played Bloodborne, but I haven't been keeping up with the gaming culture enough to really know what ones I want to. Let's see. Oh, there was a game. Okay, does anyone know the studio that created the game Surgeon Simulator? That studio is coming out with a new huge map game where you get to basically build your own kind of steampunk pirate ship and fly through the sky and attack people. I was just sitting down with the developers of that game the other day, grabbing drinks, and I'm going to try that out when it comes out because it seemed pretty cool. Troublemakers don't like bad weather. Crime stats go down in bad weather. That's really interesting. I didn't know that. Sitting there and an animal becomes food, right? I'm sickened by celebrities prancing around telling you how important it is to vote, but think about it. Which way do you vote if you're politically illiterate? With the sophists. Yeah, no, the celebrity thing is extremely annoying. It's like, you should definitely get your political advice from Beyonce. Definitely, because some football man told you to vote for this, you should vote for it. It's utterly disgusting. Bossa Studios. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. I was sitting down with all the developers of that stuff when I was in London, and they were really nice people designing some really cool stuff. They didn't know who I was, so if any left-wing journalists are going to try to come in here and pull at Gamergate on Bossa Studios and say they're friends with Lauren Southern, they didn't know I was into all this political stuff, so you can't do that. But yeah, they were explaining the whole game to me. It seemed super cool. Lauren, you could stream on Twitch and play games and talk politics and get rich all at the same time. I always thought about that because if you stream on Twitch, I feel like more normies will watch your stuff. And does anyone remember? There's that girl Zoe Berger. She's the one who does all the stripping on Twitch, and she'll like go naked if people give her certain donations while she's playing a game. That's how she made her career. She tried to do like the opposite of that, where she decided to go from stripping and playing Twitch to talking politics. And she did a strip show on Twitter and talked about the Syrian missile crisis. It was the most stupid thing I've ever seen in my life. It was so upsetting to watch. So I don't that insincere, I'm just doing this to manipulate you into believing something kind of person. Oh, I still can't get that. Did anyone see that video? Zoe Berger stripping with the Syrian missile crisis. Very upsetting. Don't look it up. Don't look it up. You didn't know crime goes down with its nose? I guess that makes sense. I just didn't really think about it. What's your favorite drink and would you consider moving to the USA? We could use your voice down here. I think Canada needs my voice more, honestly, but I've been really neglecting them lately. So I owe Canada a video and I've been working on one. It's very exciting. My favorite drink, honestly, is sparkling water. Are you asking alcoholic? Wine? Red wine? Actually, white wine. As a black guy in London, do you have any idea how much stick I get for pointing out how bad crime is in my community? And I like police too. Call me insane. It's like blasphemy in my community. Yeah, it's so crazy. It's the reason people, the majority of people don't really care to talk about the crime thing is because they think it's racist for some reason to talk about problems with crime because a lot of it tends to be from recent immigrants, obviously in places like Rotherham and Luton, and do people just not like solving problems? I don't know. It's like unless you're directly impacted by it, it's fine if everyone else is being blown up by Islam. You can just put on a new profile photo and you're good to go and you can just virtue signal away. It's fine if everyone else is getting robbed, but if you're in a safe gated community, you're not going to bother talking about that. It's almost like things have to get worse before they get better. Things are going to have to get so bad where everyone is being impacted by the horrible crime rate until people start talking about it and realizing that it's not offensive to talk about fixing the issue of people being stabbed and robbed and murdered and raped. It's insane. I don't get it either. Yeah, they must get super mad that you're talking about it. Because it's like if someone's white and they talk about crime rates, you can just call them a racist, but they're probably extra butthurt that you're talking about it. You strip. Well, I wasn't. I actually can't speak for everyone else. Oh, I wasn't saying strip. I was Never mind, never mind. I was just making an example of Zoe Berger for that. Come to Edmonton. I was actually just there. I had a layover in Edmonton because I'm not running around buying first-class tickets, unfortunately. Not quite there yet. I have to search through for the cheapest tickets that have ridiculous layovers and ridiculous times. But, you know, it's I live sitting at the very back of the plane every time. I actually have family in Edmonton. I quite like it there. The US already has Ben, Rubin, and Crowder. And yes, Crowder is a Canadian export as well. And Gavin is a Canadian export. So Canadians are taking over US politics. We're slowly infiltrating. I'm sure you agree the regressive left just doubles down. They won't talk about solving the problem. They'd rather talk about, well, what caused people to commit the crime. It's really fascinating because it's like explain. I had a friend of mine that does YouTube videos that was explaining this to me. He was like, it's almost like when people were saying the Earth, yeah, the sun orbits the Earth, And they started to realize that the solar system just didn't make sense. Like the star movements, they're like, why is nothing adding up? Why is none of the math coming together? But the sun obviously orbits the Earth, but why is none of the other stuff adding up? And they didn't realize if they just switched to this one thing, it would all make sense and all play together if they just realized that it's the other way around. So it's kind of like when people only want to talk about, oh, well, what if they won't talk about the actual problem. They'll be like, white people obviously caused this. Obviously, it's because people feel disenfranchised. Obviously, it's because women are people are being sexist against women. When if they just switched one thing around with the wage gap, oh, women work less hours. Oh, it's actually not because they're disenfranchised. It's just because they commit more crimes statistically. If they just switched this one thing around, all of the other statistics would make sense, and they wouldn't have to create these crazy narratives about institutional sexism, institutional racism. It's so silly. I mentioned it because my brother is turning into a professional Twitch streamer. He said in stream he needed money to buy a new PC, and someone gave him 2K. Holy crap. Wow. What games does he play? That's really interesting. Good for him. I'm so impressed with Crowder lately. He's a comedian, but he has been addressing the most important issues. Recently, he said, not a truth or your truth, but the truth. Crowder's a great guy. I will say, there are a lot of people in this industry, and I've been on so many shows, I've been on so many podcasts and sat down in real life and talked to the people behind a lot of the mass media that happens on the conservative end of things, even the left-wing ends of things. And there are a lot of crazy, awful people in this industry that are like just out for money, unfortunately. And it's really sad, and it's really gross to me that people would be playing with people's political opinions for money. But Crowder is one of the very, very genuine, very kind people in this industry that is totally out for it because he has genuine beliefs. People may call him a cuck, they can call him all the names you want, but he is a genuine, nice person. I'd say that for Ruben as well. They're the gems in the rough of political commentary that I just love to death. That sparkling water, thought it was blood of crushed babies. Oh, I obviously filled it with the blood of crushed babies after pouring out the sparkling water. Do you watch any anime, Lauren? I'm just gonna sip my drink to that question. I watched anime when I was in high school and university, yes. I quite liked, what's it called? The main character's name is Zero. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me, though. Lelouch v. Britannia was the guy's name or something. A really, really good anime. Can't remember the name of it. I apologize. Ruben did a great 2-hour talk with the Ayn Rand Institute recently. Amazing watch. I'll have to check that out. Ayn Rand I loved her books. One of my first kind of real red pills early on in university when I started reading Ayn Rand. Code Geass, yes. I loved Code Geass. That was really good. I would love to see you on a stream with Sargon. It's been a while. Sargon and I haven't talked in a long time. It's been like a year since the last one, and I'd enjoy talking to him. I found the Thunderfoot stuff really funny to watch, and Thunderfoot also did the same thing to me. I'm sure a lot of you, before I went independent, I did a video debunking Thunderfoot's kind of dishonest attacks on me. So I think it'd be fun to talk to Sargon about that stuff. What do you guys think of Thunderfoot right now? I don't know what's going on that front. But my respect for him is totally lost after he refused to even talk to me or debate me or anything over multiple times. I'm like, let's have a conversation. You've made 2 videos on me. Let's just talk it through and like see who's right here. Wouldn't talk to me, and then accused me of trying to take down his videos. Didn't happen. There was proof that I didn't try to take down his videos, and took him forever to even admit that he was wrong on that front. He could be doing amazing things. He's obviously a smart guy. He just has an ego like nothing else. The ego is a lot of times what kills people on YouTube, is if they can't get over their ego. Milo, you and Sargon should do another stream. It's been a while since the whole Gamergate stream community has gotten together and done those crazy like 3-hour, 4-hour live streams. I'd love to do that, but maybe I'll reach out to Sargon and see if he wants to do a stream and talk about whatever. Yeah, I saw the Thunderfoot thing. I think he might be kind of sick. His neck is all swollen. I don't know about that, but he's certainly losing the plot a little bit. I think a lot of it too is you're starting to see these people that spent most of their time critiquing like Anita Sarkeesian and Lacey Green and stuff, and they're just becoming like you can only debunk so many Anita Sarkeesian videos before you're just repeating yourself 1,000 times over. I mean, of course, I enjoyed all the feminist debunk videos, but they're realizing that people have heard all the arguments before. People have seen feminism and Anita debunked all the times before, so they're kind of looking for new targets, especially these people that just like would target individuals instead of ideas a lot of the time. And Thunderfoot, I think, was one of those people, and he's realizing he can't just spend his entire YouTube career critiquing Sarkeesian, so he needs to find someone else. And he's like, oh, it's going to be people within the skeptic community that I'm going to target next. But the problem is that he's mistaken them for. Oh, there's a fly here. Ooh, go away. Um, he's mistaken them with people that sycophants like Anita Sarkeesian. He's confused them with people that don't care about facts and logic. So it's just not going to work, and it hasn't been working. I wouldn't say that Gamergate is over. The progressive left is still messing with gaming. They have dug in. Oh yeah, for sure. It's not over, but it's not as big as it used to be, obviously. Like when I was talking with the creators of Bossa, I asked them about that, and they were like, "Oh yeah, obviously we have to be sensitive to that stuff because they're still worried about potentially getting attacked for games they make, right? Any gaming studio is worried about that. It's gotten better, but yeah, it still exists for sure. Sorry, just checking. The same principle has me worried about Undoomed. He's got to find new stuff because the SJW stuff is in recession. Yeah, and it's not like it's these people don't need to be called out. Like I think with that university situation where they're trying to get all of the white people to leave campus, yeah, talk about that. But it's obviously not something that you can make 3, 4, 5 videos a week on. That's more something that you could maybe like SGW craziness, like one video a week because it's dying down. Still needs to be called out constantly, but certainly a lot of YouTubers within this community are going to have to find new topics to talk about. It's interesting, but I think you're going to see a lot more people on the right getting critiqued, which is going to be is healthy, I think. I mean, you saw recently Fantano go after, or a few months ago, Fantano go after Paul Joseph Watson, for example, videos, but I also think it's good to be critiqued. It keeps you on your toes. Like I almost enjoyed when Thunderfoot went after my stuff because it really made me think. I'm like, maybe I could have presented that better, right? Maybe I could have spoke about that better. But that's what kind of screwed him over talking about me, is because I could come forward and be like, you're right, I was wrong about that thing. Let's talk this over. And then he couldn't really double down and go super hard and just talk about how I'm a crazy person because I'm willing to talk. So I'm not as fun of a target as other people, but I do enjoy being critiqued because it makes me think and it keeps me on my toes. But obviously, that makes me a bad target for people who want to attack me because I'm willing to learn. Are you hinting that you would do game design, Lauren? I really would enjoy that. When I was younger, I did a ton of game design courses, and I actually taught before I did this. My job that paid for my university was I taught programming to kids. I did kid camps all over the whole summer. I never had a summer to party or anything because I spent every single day traveling and doing kid camps, teaching programming and game design. I had so much fun doing it. Kids are a hell of a time to deal with nowadays, but it was really fun teaching them to design little Sonics and run around and all the different creative games they had. I really enjoyed it. It was hard work, but that's what I wanted to do as well before this. There were a lot of different career paths that I was going to go on that weren't political at all, potentially. What programming language? Oh, like Flash. I'm not talking about, it was kids camps. I'm not talking about any serious programming, but like it was like Flash game design, and then I'd do 3D modeling of characters, and then animation of those in what was the programs that I used? It's been a while. Like Mudbox was one of the programs that we used for character design, and any of the programs we used because it's been a few years, but it was a good time when I did that. Did you see the Paul Joseph Watson video on global warming being a hoax? Bad times, he totally lost me. I haven't seen that one. You know what? I did a video a long time ago on global warming, and I kind of regretted it because as much as I am skeptical of the whole thing, it's one of those things that I just honestly don't think I'm qualified enough to talk about the global warming stuff because I'm not a scientist. I think it's fair to critique why governments are doing certain things and say like maybe there's a second agenda. This doesn't really solve the issue, but I'd rather. I think there are better voices out there when it comes to global warming to talk about the issue and debate on it. So focus on that issue that much because I'd rather leave that one to the scientists. Global warming is an enormous power grab with evidence behind it being in serious decline. If you don't, global warming is a scam. Yeah, you know, I've watched all the documentaries on it, and I've like for example in Canada, it really bugs me that they want to bring in a carbon tax because it won't stop people that have to drive cars from driving cars, obviously, and also Canada is not just carbon neutral, but it gets rid of more carbon than it produces. So I'm sitting there and like, yeah, that's obviously a government scam to just get more taxes from us because it doesn't make sense to have it in, especially in a place like Canada where we're carbon neutral and where we have some of the most ethical oil on earth. So that stuff really pisses me off. But when it comes to the like science on that, I just leave that more to or kind of well versed in that topic. Molyneux is your guy for climate change. I haven't watched Molyneux's stuff on climate change. I'll have to check it out. I'm just tired of hearing constant appeal to authority when talking about global warming. Yeah, well, that's also why I don't talk to it because that's the first argument you get is like, oh, you're not a scientist, and I'm like, all right, well, there are people that are scientists talking about this already. I'm writing really good books and stuff on it, so I'll just leave it to them because at least with the like, I can talk about the immigration stuff because I can go on the ground and show you and be like, this is what's happening on the ground. I'm here in Paris. Here's the statistics on it. Like here you go. So it's I feel like I'm good at presenting that kind of stuff and it's easy for me to go and investigate that stuff. Whereas it's I would want to spend more time going to university and studying the science behind it before I started jumping into critiquing global warming. Although I certainly see the inconsistencies in how policies are applied and who gets the money from this kind of stuff. And following the money trail does bring a ton of skepticism for me. Rand's understanding of human nature was flawed. She believed humans are tabula rasa. She knew little about human biodiversity between races and sexes. You know, with a lot of the like libertarians like Rand, you get a lot of the how would I put it? The social autism. Like love her to death, but yeah, the kind of like anyone can achieve everything in the world. I love to believe that too, but obviously libertarians are a little more intelligent. A lot of them are INTJs. Rand was an INTJ. I'm an INTJ. Coulter's an INTJ, if you know the Myers-Briggs stuff. So it's very like calculated, kind of like chess-like mind, right? And so a lot of overestimating of people's abilities, I think, comes from Rand for sure. How did the Libertarian Party apologize to you and convince you to come back after they turfed you? Oh boy, it's been so long since that whole libertarian thing that's happened. But yeah, they booted me because they had a bunch of SJWs in power. This is what happens in a lot of the cases. SJWs love working their way to power in organizations and political parties, and they booted me after SJWs took charge and said I was too offensive. I think it was I shared a Paul Joseph Watson video on the trans issue and they got really mad about that. So booted me, and then enough people sent them letters and got upset with them and said they weren't going to run because they weren't supporting free speech when they're a libertarian party, that they finally, the leader of the party, Tim Moen, who's the leader now, was like, this is ridiculous. Why did you boot her? Bring her back. Came out, flew out. She shook my hand. They did the whole photo op and everything, and they brought me back. But the big thing was it was because SJWs had infiltrated the highest tier of the Libertarian Party. And luckily, the Libertarian Party managed to get them out. So they're not there anymore. Thank God. I'm also an INTJ. Rand was also wrong about collectivism. In extremes, it is bad, sure, but humans evolved to be tribal because it gave individuals a greater chance of survival. I have this conversation with libertarians all the time. That's so funny. I was talking to Walter Block about this, and I was like, so when do you think a libertarian world is going to come about? And he kind of looked at me and he's like, oh, maybe in like 3,000 years, because we may have enough mutations in people's minds to make them anti-collectivism, because he's a smart guy. He understands that people did evolve that way. They had to be tribal to survive. If you weren't in a tribe, you'd get killed, kidnapped by another one, or just die on your own because you didn't have the support. You couldn't breed, you couldn't have children. So thinks that libertarianism and libertarian mindset is a mental kind of defect. You have to have kind of a defective brain that isn't like is more individualistic, right? Not that you're a bad thing, but it's just like you're different than how everyone else is kind of wired, right? So it's interesting to see the very logical arguments come from libertarians, and they're all very logical, and I love their arguments. Even my anarchist friends and everything, they all make sense very well on paper, but then you apply it to real life, and it doesn't work so well when people have that natural human nature to be tribalistic. In a libertarian world, a lot of people would initially just collect together and make themselves a government, to make themselves a collectivist state anyways. So it's all I think it's one of the libertarianism, anarchy, I think it's the most moral on paper. Obviously, the non-aggression principle, I love it. I think it's extremely moral, but does it work in real life? Is it too utopian? Very fun conversations I have with a lot of my libertarian friends. What's your take on Canada marijuana legalization? When it comes to, obviously, I'm very libertarian on most issues, but socialized healthcare system, and you have socialism in general and a welfare state, it brings a whole nother factor into the issue. So I don't want people doing a ton of drugs when I have to pay for their healthcare, right? I don't want mass immigration when I have to pay for the mass amount of immigrations coming in. So all of these issues that come into question, always, all the freedoms that people want, always there's only a barrier brought up for me when it's like, oh, if you mess up your life, I have to pay for it. So I tend to be more so, when it comes to socialized states, against drug legalization. But at the same time, I think the war on drugs is a complete failure. So it's a really difficult balance for me. The welfare state creates a lot of problems for my ideology of freedom. Trying to achieve a libertarian world gets you a Muslim one, a bit like voting for Liberal Democrats gets you Tories. That's a really good point, because that's one of the biggest red pills I took. Was I was very, very libertarian, and then I was like, huh. But if we have open borders, all these people are going to come in that are going to establish a government and then take away my rights. And I sat there, and it comes back to that age-old quote of freedom isn't free. It's something that has to be defended, and it's something that has to be protected. So I've always believed, well, not always, but more recently, I've been like, okay, we need a government big enough to protect our freedoms so we can have the maximum freedoms possible. So that's why, even with like, I get along with like my anarchist friends that are at like Anarchapulco, because our goals are both the same. We want maximum freedom. I just believe that freedom needs to be protected with some sort of organization. Do like I do, invest in marijuana companies and profit. Yay, capitalism. I've been investing in cryptocurrencies for the last bit. I've been meaning to make a video about it, but I know people get all weirded out whenever people make videos about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, because they're like, oh, what pyramid scam is this today? But seriously, I think cryptocurrencies are super important. I've been investing in Monero and Stratus Coin and Litecoin and all that kind of stuff, just to, I've had people donate Bitcoin to me, so I've just been spending putting into Monero and stuff, just because I think it's like such an important thing to have, that it's like something that the government can't tax. It's something the government can't take away from you. It's something that will stay with value even when our dollar crashes, because of all the student loans and everything, which we have more student loans in Canada than we do credit card debt. It's insane. It's going to be another 2008 with the student loans. But yeah, I think cryptocurrency is important to invest in. I won't get too much into it because I'm not the expert and I shouldn't really talk too much on. You probably heard me mention it in my speech if you watched that one. Read The Creature from. Wow, why can't I remember the book? G. Edward Griffin. Creature from Jekyll Island. Yeah. Um, but yeah, if you watch all the stuff on the Federal Reserve and cryptocurrencies, fascinating stuff. I'm not going to get into it because I'm not the expert. I'm fairly new to this stuff. That feel when a single Bitcoin is now worth twice as much a share of Google. Yeah, it's like $3,000 Canadian for one Bitcoin. It's insane, and people are predicting that it's going to go up to $10,000. I was going to put money into Ethereum because people were that one looked like it was going on the way up. But then someone explained to me that Ethereum isn't as good because the original programmer is some like young kid from Toronto who broke the coding for it in order to bail some of his friends out, and now it's just not as stable of a currency or something. I'm getting into a world that I am not an expert in. So next topic. Put a price on gender studies education, Lauren. Yeah, 4 years of your life wasted. 41.5% of immigrants with non-Western background is on social benefits here in Denmark. Oh, you're in Denmark. That's cool. I've been meaning to visit because that's where my family's from. That's very, yeah, the stats are damning. If you watch Molyneux's videos on immigration, especially in America, and what percentages of people are consuming the most welfare, socialized housing, Medicaid, food stamps, it is damning, and that stuff needs to be exposed. But the problem is, every time we find these stats, they start doing less and less of that research every year because they don't want people to see it. Are you ever going to finish your degree? I really want to. At some point. At some point, I may. I don't know why I want to, actually. I think oh, damn, you're making me think about this. On one hand, it's like I kind of just want it because, like, if you go on TV shows and do interviews, obviously all the posh people are like, "Oh, she has a degree, okay, she can be here." Whereas, versus if you dropped out like me, they don't care that much. But it's also kind of a waste of time when you can read books on your own, and a waste of money for indoctrination. So maybe, I'm not sure. I haven't thought about it too much. What the F happened to the global hack that shut down hospitals requiring Bitcoin payments? There was like zero follow-up with that on the culprits. I heard about that. I don't know. I didn't pay attention too much to that one. Speaking of hacks, there's been people trying to hack into my accounts for like the last few weeks, and it's been a nightmare for me trying to secure everything. Oh, it's nightmarish with all of this stuff. Oh no, Lauren is thinking. You guys are bringing up so many questions and so many things that I don't usually consider. It's good. It's good. Somehow I'm up to $20,000 from when I started uni, paid internship, get into engineering, not social sciences. Yeah, for sure. There's so many people that have just been talking social sciences is the way to go. But yeah, engineering, you make way more money, and trades too. Less time, less money spent. You can make money while doing a internship or anything. And yeah, you make way more money in the long run. It's unreal. I advised so many of my friends that went into like English and stuff to switch out and do trades, and they're so happy that I told them to do that now. Because I had one friend specifically that I told to do that, and he's telling me now, he's like, "Oh my goodness, Lauren, guess what? Like, over 2/3 of my class are people that already have degrees that I was going to get, but then they couldn't get a job with their English or social studies degrees, so then they went into trades." He's like, "I'm so glad I didn't waste time doing that and just went straight into trades." So many people should do trades instead of university. Oversaturated university market. Why not form a loosely bound media company with the big YouTubers? There are people working on that in the background. There are people definitely working on that, and just different websites to go to, because obviously YouTube and Twitter and all these different sites are not going to last for people with dangerous opinions like myself and Sargon and all these different commentators. So I will tell you, yeah, there are people working on it in the background for bigger companies. And also I think it's going to be interesting because you look at places like Fox News that are totally dying right now, and all these big media companies that just aren't getting the same attention as YouTubers. And I think they're also going to start hiring more YouTubers, because YouTube obviously booms because it's more genuine. People are getting video on the spot. It doesn't have to go through 10 layers of bureaucracy. So will these big media companies be able to kind of same kind of genuine feeling that YouTube does? Will they start hiring YouTubers, or will YouTube completely destroy these big companies or different sites with YouTubers? It's going to be an interesting next 10 years, I think, to see where news goes, because it's completely changed from how it was even just 5 years ago. And it's exciting. I do have a lot of news stations contact me constantly, and they always want to talk about new media. They always want to talk about what I'm doing different, what other YouTubers are doing different. And it's funny, a lot of the interviews are never published, so maybe they're just trying to get info, but Franco, exactly. Philip DeFranco is obviously making his own news channel. That's going to be weird to see. But I'm talking about like more in the same political sphere as me. There are people in the background working on that. And Casey Neistat with CNN. Casey Neistat is a bit of a joke. I can't take him seriously. I met him in real life once in DC, and he just couldn't back up any of his political views. He seemed very wavy, like he just went with the whatever way the tide went, you know? Isn't DeFranco a libtard? I know you're talking to Caleb there, but DeFranco is actually a lot better than most big YouTubers when it comes to the libtard thing. He tends to be he is liberal, but at the same time, he presents both sides when he does his arguments, which is more than I have seen on most of the mainstream media. So DeFranco is he's good on that end of things. If you come to London for any journalistic needs, you must acquire use of my black taxi. It would be so gangster. I appreciate it. You know, I've been staying everywhere I go, and with traveling, I mean, I'm staying with friends. I'm staying with people I know from online. I'm making sure to do everything on a serious budget, getting the cheapest flights. So I've learned to travel to all these places on a serious budget, and I really appreciate you offering that. He does really well on issues being balanced. He seems liberal but never reveals party association. Yeah, he loves guns and liberty from what I've seen. Yeah, there was that crazy story where DeFranco had his wife, someone broke into their house, and it was like a horrific experience for her. She like hid in a room with their kid and like just held him close and got the gun out and was like ready to defend them. And people actually got mad at her. They were infuriated with her for getting a gun to defend herself. And she did a video on it, and she was just like, it's my family. It's my child. Of course I'm going to get a gun out to protect myself from being potentially murdered. I could not believe how mad mainstream YouTube got over that. It was ridiculous. Neistat's film work is great, though. Tim Pool practically admitted to taking his style. Yeah, no, there's certainly things you can learn from these people. Does awesome job. And Tim Pool is I look at Tim Pool's stuff and I'm like, damn, how can I make my videos look like that? He's just kind of got the brain for it. I've got more of the um more of the like, I want to talk about the deeper philosophical ideas behind immigration and culture and all these things, but I need to learn how to get better at the video stuff, and I'm really working on it. I've been trying. It's a struggle every day. In the video coming up talking about the Patreon stuff, I'll show you some of the new video stuff I've got just recently to try and improve the overall quality. And like I said, in a few videos, I'm talking to video editors and everything about potentially hiring them to help me out. I'm getting better on my own, but I'm just not that video editing savvy. I think it's honestly like a talent that people just naturally have. You can learn a bit of it, but you can't learn genius in that subject. You need a beanie. That's all there is to it. Maybe I need my own. What is my version of the beanie? It used to be the winged eyeliner was my version of the beanie, but that's kind of gone. I was traveling too much to do makeup. Neistat's style is the reason he was so successful on YouTube. His content isn't particularly interesting. The way he films things, the music, the effing art, even though I think he's an idiot. Yeah, it's beautiful, but I watched a couple of his vlogs because I was like, what is so important about this? Why is he getting millions and millions of views? And I watched it and I was like, how do people watch this? What's the point? He's just talking about like what he had for breakfast or like walking down the street. What's the point? I've never understood those like, here's my life vlog. Here's what I did today, right? Um, but yeah, the quality is certainly super impressive. I can't deny that. It's he's certainly learned what he's doing, and I guess a lot of people enjoy it. Speaking of trades posted in the group and sent an email, Centennial College has a mandatory SGW course for everyone, even if you want to be a tradesperson. What? I that they did that in a few universities in Canada as well, where yeah, it's like you have to take a native pottery course or something to understand the oppression of natives in Canada. And it's like, what does this have to do with being an engineer? What does this have to do with being a doctor? How is that going to make you better at your job? The answer is it's not. It's stupid and a waste of money. And that's very sad that they're expanding that to other universities. Also, if you're interested in a speechwriter, I've done work with a copy editor and I help with outlines when I tutor at my college. I appreciate it, Caleb. I like to write my own stuff for the most part. I have friends that will go through and do edits. Like I'll be like, oh, what do you think of my speech that I wrote? But I don't really do the ghostwriter speechwriter thing. I enjoy writing my stuff. Have you gone outside London? What do you mean outside of London? Like more into the suburbs? Not yet. If that's what you're talking about. And I was meaning to when I was there because I wanted to go kind of see like the no-go zone areas in London and go meet Tommy Robinson. But I was there only briefly, and I was dealing with the hacking situation of a bunch of people trying to hack into my accounts. So I had to deal with that. The most of the time I was in London, it really sucked because I wanted to do the no-go zones there. But there'll be opportunities in the future for sure. You don't have to be super savvy with editing if you're a good speaker. Put the emphasis on the right syllable. Yeah, it's still, I'd like to have better editing than I do right now. If you look back at some of my old stuff, like all of the audio is off and everything is just awful. I found this really cool computer app called Pluralize that when you have a separate audio device and your camera, you just drag the audio and the footage and it lines up your voice perfectly with the camera. It's a wonderful thing. So that's helped out. Finding all these tips and tricks in the industry has been beautiful. College, not university, sheet metal people, computer folks, plumbing apprentices have to learn this SGW stuff. Yeah, no, it makes no sense. I wish there would just stop giving that university your money, go somewhere else. Of course, the unfortunate part of that is it's probably the university that's closest to them and it costs them more to drive to the other one, but damn, that sucks. I mean, to other parts of the country. No, I haven't been to other parts of the UK yet. Of course, like I said, I will be back. Opinion on Tommy's court case. Honestly, I haven't been paying attention to Tommy's court case, so I could say which one. Whenever I check with Tommy's videos, it's like, oh, Tommy Robinson's got a new video. And was he arrested, beat up, driven off the road, sued, or shut down, right? Like every single one of his videos is, oh, Tommy's been attacked again. Poor guy. Poor guy. Why would you go to the other parts of the UK, dude? Just shitholes. I don't know yet. I have to visit them. If you come to Denmark, Copenhagen, then you can go straight across the bridge to Sweden, Malmo, to the no-go zones they have there. It's crazy over there. Yes, I will be back. I really want to go to Denmark and Sweden. I've been meaning to. You should do something on Count Dankula, the Nazi pug guy. That is an insane situation. I remember seeing the video, like, was it over a year ago? The little pug doing the Sieg Heils. It was really funny, and he was a joke. I still can't believe that they're taking that seriously. Like, if I were a judge, I'd just throw that out for just being a joke case. Poor guy. Because on one hand, I feel like things are getting better. I feel like things are getting like the Overton window is shifting. We're able to talk about more issues now. We're able to be more free online and have more people defend you. But at the same time, you've still got this shit going. Sorry, excuse me. You've still got this crap going on. You've still got people going to jail potentially for their free speech. You've still got people being fined for jokes. It's still all happening on a systematic level. It's just wider culture is becoming aware of it. And the scary part too, obviously, is that as wider culture is becoming aware of it, all the people who still want to become bureaucrats, all the people who still want to work in government are all these psychotic SJWs from universities. So the next generation may still be worse when it comes to our laws just because of the type of people that go into politics and the type of vitriolic SJWs that are going to become our civil servants. Sorry, civil masters. There's no such thing as civil servants anymore. I went to Kurt Eichenwald's house as well for an estate sale, and he has wooden stairs everywhere. Oh my goodness, I saw people uploading photos of Kurt Eichenwald's estate sale, making fun of all the stuff he had. It was too funny. Higher than ever. Don't say that. That's so upsetting. I gotta say, these no-goes in the UK do seem to be a bit of a myth, but I never leave London, so maybe you could fly from Canada to open my eyes about my freaking country. It's crazy. I was walking around with a friend in London, and I was talking about how sometimes I worry walking through European cities. I worry about terrorism and stuff. And my friend was saying, he's like, "Oh no, like it's exaggerated. Da 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 da. Don't worry about it. Like it's something that's a bit of a myth." That was the Manchester attack night. So it's kind of one of those things where, yeah, it's not always going to be in front of our faces, but people aren't making this stuff up. Tommy Robinson isn't making up the fact that he gets beat up in London or in Luton all the time. He has video of it, right? So it's not like it doesn't happen. It's just not always going to be on video all the time. And it's just we forget about it so quickly and then we move on to our daily life. So there is definitely stuff happening in the UK. It's not as bad as Paris or as France right now. It's not as bad as Germany right now, but it definitely exists there. Did you hear about that patron on yours, LS Super Secret Ever, who got his door kicked in for making a bacon comment to a fat Muslim? No, I'll have to check that. I haven't checked, obviously, the Facebook since I started this stream. That's crazy. I'm super excited about the Facebook, by the way. If you are in the chat and you don't know about the Facebook group, check the Patreon page and join up. It's going to be just a meme posting group and chatting group on Facebook, and I'll accept your request as soon as this live stream is over. Lots of fun. That's so crazy, though. I've heard about that in Europe. People just getting their places. Oh yeah, we get our doors kicked down all the time. We get our stuff raided all the time. It's just kind of happens, you know. And it was just such a crazy thing to me. I've never had that happen to me. I mean, I've been detained for my views, and like border security was asking me about what's in my book and stuff, which is crazy. But I don't have my door kicked in. I don't have people like Antifa waiting for me at the subway stations all the time like these identitarians do. It just seems so much worse in Europe. Bill 16 thoughts. Well, I changed my gender because Bill 16 pissed me off so much. Obviously, I'm against it. I don't think there's... if you want to know more, I think you should definitely watch... I think a friend of mine, Theron Meyer, actually stood up and spoke in front of the parliament about Bill 16, as well as Jordan Peterson. Did he testify about it? I watched a few of them. Gad Sad was there as well. They had some great comments on it. Tommy Robinson gets attacked because people don't know him for his actual arguments. They just think he's a racist. And that's the real tragedy here, is in so many cases people don't get to hear your real opinions. A paper here in my hometown did an article on me, and basically what they did was they just chose like the worst possible things they could find on me and compiled them in one article and then misrepresented every single thing I said. And everyone like from my hometown was like, wow, Lauren Southern is this evil, horrible person, racist, da 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 da. And it's like, you haven't actually heard my opinions. You've just heard my opinions translated by somebody else for you and misrepresented by them. So many of these people like Tommy Robinson, no one gets to hear their opinion. They just think they've heard their opinion. It's been translated and presented for them by someone else who doesn't know them. And it's very sad, and it can get very lonely because people that I've known for years, for example, that I've known in my hometown just like won't talk to me anymore because they think I set refugee babies on fire, right? And it's just, I wish people would think a little more and would actually go to the source to hear what was said and would put in a little more effort before they just attack people on the street for their views, like with Tommy Robinson, or just completely abandon them as a friend. What about talking with you first? Or yeah, or asking me. That would be better too. I watched Dr. Peterson testify at the Senate. He made so many of those senators look idiotic. He tends to make people look idiotic who disagree with him. It's frustrating. There are people I know that don't actually believe that there is a migrant crisis in Europe and that the only people coming are Syrian refugees. This is something that the EU has admitted themselves. Like they've said, the majority aren't Syrian refugees. They've said this is a migrant crisis. They've admitted they're coming over for financial reasons. That's infuriating. The media has done such a good job at indoctrinating people. Joseph, Lauren, please make sure you set the group back to secret from closed once you've accepted people who are interested in joining. It's important that content isn't publicly indexable. Yes, I will. I will set it back to secret tonight. And then anyone else who wants to join, I'll make an extra Patreon post just saying, give me your email so I can add you. I just didn't want to have to spend, because the first time I opened that group, I started going through people's emails, adding that, trying to find their Facebook pages individually, but some people didn't have their emails set up with their Facebook page, and now there's like hundreds of people, so there's tons of people supporting the Patreon, which is crazy and awesome, but it just would take a gajillion years to do. So I'll have it set like this for the night, and then I'll set it to secret so that you guys don't lose your jobs and get harassed by crazy SJWs for our shit posting. On the 21st, literally 2 hours before Manchester, I was in an argument with a coworker about how violent Islamists are just a sect, and then we turned on the TV, and later there it was. Yeah, it's you'd think. I do wonder, like, it's one of those points where you think you're like, okay, maybe they'll be red pilled now, maybe they'll figure it out now, and it's like, no, they still don't. Like after the Orlando, people were like, maybe people will realize there's a problem with Islam now. Nope, they just keep on going on their merry way. This is why this is my why we'll forget about London video. I still think that was a super important video that I made. It was when I just went independent. I was just saying, like, people are going to look back at this and realize that history isn't always, they keep saying it's just one event, but these are becoming more and more frequent, and more people are coming into the country with these radical views. So when we look back at history, it's not going to be like, wow, the West died on this day. No, it's going to be over these 200 years that we allowed open borders and that we allowed militant people to come in. That's how the West died. And we're going to be look at it in retrospect and think it was so obvious. But right now, in this moment, we're just like, oh, it's just a single incident. It's just a single incident. We can't see into the future. People can't, they aren't very good at predicting the logical outcome of the exponential growth of migrants and extremists somehow. Have you ever been to the Netherlands? You visited a lot of, oh, sorry, question went down. You've visited a lot of countries, so any thoughts on perhaps future plans? Yes, I will. I'd love to visit and maybe interview Geert Wilders or something. That would be fun. I'm gonna come back. I've got lots of plans. I'll be all over the world reporting on all different sorts of stories. A few days to relax here, see the hedgehogs, and make a Patreon video for the 4,000 goal, and I work on getting some new equipment, a new laptop, because whenever I render my videos for you guys, it takes like 3 hours, so it takes so long, it's ridiculous. So I need a new laptop, because I've been using, I think it's, oh, I'm reading your comments on it. I've been using a ThinkPad for all of my editing, and it's just, it works, but it's not fast enough. So with this Patreon goal money, it's going to a faster laptop with better editing. It's going to be awesome. And I don't know how I randomly got into talking about laptops. So I'll check out the next question. Please don't go to Sweden. My motherland is a hellhole now. That's the reason I have to go. That's why I went to Paris. I have to go to these hellholes and show people what's going on. Tim Pool did some great stuff on Sweden, but I'll go back in a bit, because people, for some reason, can't just watch. People, you need to do lots of videos on it and hope enough people see it to understand what's going on. ThinkPad Master Race. Yeah, it's a great computer. I just don't know why it's so slow at rendering things. It's infuriating. Get her a Mac. Should I get a Mac or a PC? I'm gonna put a poll. I'm not sure if I should get a Mac or a PC. I've got so many people telling me PC master race, so many people telling me Macs are the best for video editing. I don't know. It's scary. I'm gonna go check them out tomorrow. Go film and work on that video I've got set for you guys. I've got prizes in the next video. It's gonna be exciting. I'm super stoked. My big thing now is I really don't want, oh God, are you trying to start a war with this Mac versus PC stuff? I'm going to create a poll. I think I can create a poll in Patreon, or I'll do it in the Facebook group and then see if I should get a Mac or PC. And yes, I will start a war. We are going to war to find out what the best editing computer is. Anyways, what was I saying before that? Right. Yes, I'm really excited about this video that I'm making for the $4,000 mark, because I was just watching this video. Do any of you guys watch Mr. Meadowker? It's gonna wait. Apple loves you. But Mr. Meadowker just did this video, and he's been going over old YouTubers that kind of disappeared off the platform, and he's been doing one on that guy with the glasses, and it's a series on what happened to all of these YouTubers. And one of them was this guy named Spoonie. And he used to do like game reviews and everything, and he created a Patreon to basically fund him. He said dying on the platform, and the reason he started dying was because he just completely neglected everyone that watched his content and supported him and loved his stuff. He had these really genuine, awesome fans, and whenever they would try to criticize him or be like, hey, Spoonie, just wondering, like, when's the next video out? Because it would be like 3 weeks since he put out a video, he'd like be like, F you, don't ask me, don't tell me what to do. And they're like, no, I'm donating like $50 because I believe in you and love your stuff. Why are you saying F you to me when I'm just curious? And he just never came out with the movie, never put out any of the Patreon reward tiers, never did any of that stuff. And anyone that questioned him, he would just say like F you to and block. He was blocking his Patreon supporters on Patreon and on Twitter and everything. And it was just like the craziest stuff. He had these amazing supporters that loved him, and he was just like neglecting them entirely. And he hadn't posted on his Patreon for a year. Like, he hadn't updated people on his Patreon for a year, and he never created the movie he promised to make. And he still somehow had Patreon supporters. He's making like $1,000 or something. And even though he hadn't updated his Patreon in a year, he had updated his Amazon wish list almost every single day since then. So I just watched that and I was mortified, and I was like, I will never treat my Patreon supporters that way. I will never treat my Patreon supporters that way. So I've got some cool stuff lined up while I'm here at home base for you guys, because I really do appreciate you, and I want you guys to know that, and I never want to be a Spoonie. If you get a chance, go watch Mr. Meadowker's video on that, because it was mortifying. The next That Way with the Glasses video is going to be the ultra feminist nostalgia chick. I'm excited about this series because I used to watch Nostalgia Critic, and I always wondered what happened to all of that. So every episode gets more and more interesting. And Jim is amazing. It's really crazy to see that he's been doing this for a long time, and he never got any money for it. He never I think he was struggling really badly financially and still putting out these awesome videos and never asked for any money. And he finally made a Patreon, and I'm really happy for him because he's bringing in enough money now that he can support himself and keep making awesome content. So as much as he's like, oh, I'm an e-whore now, it's like, we love your content, dude. Like, it's great stuff. When can we buy Lauren Southern merchandise? Ooh, would you guys like that? I don't know. I feel weird putting my face on a shirt or something. I don't know. Maybe I'll make some stuff like I'm legally a man shirt or something for my female followers. Like, I'm gay for Lauren Southern. I'll figure something out. I don't want to be Spoonie. Lauren 2K17. Everyone should strive to not be Spoonie. I heard Jim was very sick. That's what I heard too. So yeah, I'm glad he's getting support now, because he was just like he had so many morals and pride. He refused to accept any money despite all of the work he was putting into these crazy videos. So yeah, hopefully he's doing better. I did one live stream with him a long time ago, and I was totally fangirling out when we did the live stream. Make mugs. I drink gallons of coffee. I'll make something. I do have some Dave's Vault shirts, but I need to make maybe I'll work on that. I'll work on Lauren Southern merch. If you guys want. If you guys like that, I'll make it. Just your face on a shirt with F Islam underneath. I need to get I don't understand. I've never gotten a mug shot. I get detained constantly, but I have no mug shot. And the Italian police just refused to show up and arrest me when they were supposed to, so I have no mug shot for a shirt. Just watch. When I do get my mugshot taken, it's going to be horrible. When can I get a Lauren Southern bobblehead? I have an Ezra, Rob Ford, Harper, and Trudeau currently for Canadian political collection. You have a Trudeau bobblehead? Bobblehead. I guess. Maybe I'll do like a hula skirt bobblehead, just like because of the SJW. What's her name? It's been Annalise Nielsen freaking out over the hula bobblehead. It is crazy what came of that video. Someone just sent it to me and they were like, make this go viral. And I was like, okay. And then it was like on H3 and Philip DeFranco and all these people took that video. I got a Paul Joseph Watson shirt, but I don't wear it because it makes me feel kind of gay. You'd still be gay if you wore a shirt of me. I'm still a man. I guess other people wouldn't know it though. A shirt with that look you had on that video from France. The one when I was watching all of the dancing. That really made me mad because it was like, not only were they doing like this ridiculous like communist thing, it was like this crazy multiculturalism with giant Stalin face over there. Oh, it was very triggering. I don't know how I made it out. Did you not figure out how to get people to come on the stream? What time is it? Let's see. Oh shoot. I have to start the other stream soon. Damn. I did want to invite people onto this stream. Okay, I have like 10 minutes and then I have to go start the other stream, but let's see if I can figure out how to invite someone on. Maybe I'm going to do an extra, you know what? I will 100% figure that out for the next stream, and I'm going to do an extra stream anyways in the next few days because I feel bad for all the people in like Australian, UK time zones that haven't gotten to participate as much, although it looks like we have a few Londoners, but we'll do a gaming stream in the next little bit and I'll invite people onto that one. So that'll be, let me check the date. Sorry, just got to check. Oh shoot, is it Father's Day today? Oh boy. Tuesday. Does Tuesday work for you guys for another stream? Just let me know in the chat. You should go to VidCon. I've been seriously considering going to VidCon, and I was thinking of bringing like a bunch of like really hated YouTubers and having like a takeover VidCon kind of thing with all of them. It's in July, I believe. No, June. I'm gonna go either way. Piss off a bunch of people. It'll be hilarious. I'll do a whole video. I'll go interview a bunch of the big YouTubers about political stuff. Lauren, we come here for you, not for others. Anyways, it's okay that you do it solo. Yeah, I'll do like a separate stream where we invite people in then. Keep this one maybe just me talking so that for all the people who just come here just to see me talk, and then do a little separate stream with inviting people in and a little bit of gaming. We'll do that Tuesday. All right, I have to head to the next stream for the $40 up super secret hangout. Splitting it up so that, because we've got lots of people, way more people than the last stream. So many new people have joined us. So I want to start splitting up the streams a little more so that it can be a little more intimate. June is really promoting VidCon. Oh, is Shu going to be there? That'll be fun. As long as you send out lots of warnings before your videos, it's fine anytime. All right, I will do that for sure. Okay. All right. I got to head out to the next stream. For everyone that is just in the $20 tier, I love your faces. You're amazing. Stay tuned the next couple of days because I will have the big 4,000 video coming out soon and the hedgehogs will be in it. And as for everyone that is in the $40 and up that has just been hanging in this one as well, I will see you in like 15 minutes pretty much.